playing the best music. 1 hour of the hottest tracks and coolest mashups of the moment.
Happy Wednesday, family. How are we doing? Welcome to Let's Pop with Iriton this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. We've made it to the third day of the week. Welcome to another conversation where we always talk about redefining Africa as we redefine ourselves because we are the change you need to see in the world. I can see Jim Griffins joining me live on TikTok, Rumble, BitChute, YouTube. Thank you for joining me this beautiful afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon, as always. As I said, it's always a great time to be alive. But remember, the conversation of the day is the lost cities and amazing heritage of Africa, of Kenya, as we actually go deeper into the current issue that has been happening here in the 254 Nairobi, Kenya, the protests, and basically the fact that we do have Kalonzo Musyoka, who's actually declaring the June 25th actually to be a public holiday and least activities of the day. We're going to go deeper into that in regards to the one and only Kalonzo Musyoka urged Kenyans to carry a rose and a candle during the commemoration, explaining that participants will lay flowers along Parliament Road and light candles in memory of the fallen heroes. Also, we're going to delve deeper to another conversation about Africa and the fact that in the next 25 years, will be recolonized by the one and only Professor PLO Lumumba, and going to another conversation how Dr. Arikana Chihombori actually reacted to Ramaphosa's Trump meeting. But stay up with me here on the Black Hot Fire Radio Network, Media of the 21st Century. You can also download our app on the Google Play Store, stream on www.blackhotfireradionetwork.com for amazing healthy supplements, apparel, clothing with the Black Hot Fire Radio logo on it. Also, I do have apparel clothing with the logo on it. Amazing healthy supplements like of ashwagandha, multivitamin. Get your energy up a bit, but by ordering ashwagandha, by also ordering beetroot, also will definitely help you to lose a lot of weight. All the people out there who are trying to lose weight, order yourself some beetroot on our website. And before we move forward with the conversation of the day, I'll actually share a video of some of the supplements I do have, and the one and only, or basically the one product I actually add for a lot of people who are trying to lose weight and stay healthy. It's beetroot. So let's listen in to the health and benefits of beetroot.
Beetroot, nature's powerhouse. Packed with vitamins, antioxidants, and nitrates, it's known to support heart health, boost stamina, and improve blood circulation. Our beetroot is naturally grown and harvested at peak ripeness. The roots are cleaned, dried, and finely ground to preserve their rich nutrition content, giving you all the benefits in one pure form. Add 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder to your juice, smoothie, or water, or take it in capsule form as recommended by your healthcare provider. Beetroot helps enhance endurance, lower blood pressure, and keep you feeling energized and balanced all day. Fuel your body with the natural power of beetroot. Stay strong, stay healthy. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
$90. You can get yourself some beetroot, some ashwagandha. Thank you everybody for joining me live on TikTok. Julius, G, I can see 40 Cats, Frank, Faye. Thank you everybody for joining me right away here on the Black Hot Fire Radio Network. On my show, Let's Pop with Iriton, we're always talking about redefining Africa as we redefine ourselves, because we are the change we need to see in the world. But before we start right away, we did have Very Here by Mwana Uwa Mumbi.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Here is Andrew Rollins, and interviewing from all Queens, Switzerland. And reaching out to all of our brothers and sisters on the African continent. You're tuning into Not a Fire
You're
Radio.
now listening to the best music.
Feel the freshness.
We got the keys to the city. It is time for a revolution, a time for an awakening for us to actually redefine Africa, redefine Kenya by our own terms and condition, because we are the change we need to see in the world. Literally scraping off all corrupt leaders who don't understand what being a Pan-African means and Pan-Africanist means. And I love what's really happening. I know a lot of people actually are being affected, but sometimes it's a way for us to actually arise, strength, and power together. Power is not given to you, power is taken. And this is our time to redefine how the next 25 years, the next 10 years will be, because it's for our future generation, our kids, and what we should definitely leave behind for them. So it's a time for an awakening. And we do have the one and only Captain Ibrahim Toure, who's actually a candle of light for us to actually emulate and actually walk in strength and courage about the cause of our future. Very there, the storyteller by Mwana Uwamumbi. But welcome and thank you for everybody joining me live on TikTok. It's been a minute. Me, myself, and I. How you doing? Duke of Wounds, East Boy, Tanker. I can see everybody right away. It's your girl, me, Iriton Lungur here on Let's Swap with Iriton. Always talking about redefining Africa as we redefine ourselves. And I welcome everybody joining me live on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute. I hope you all are having a beautiful, magical day, as it should be, right? And basically setting beautiful and powerful intention for you to walk into the best life of your life, because you're definitely the greatest of all time. We're going to delve into a conversation of what has been happening in the 254 Nairobi, Kenya. We know we have been having the protests, and also the late Albert Ojwang's case actually proceeding. And actually, we do have Ntalam, who has actually been taken to Milimani courts for investigations, right? We did have the CCTV that was actually showcased on how he was brought into that hospital. And also, we did have more comment talking about the fact that CCTV will definitely be installed in every police station. And I'm thinking this is something you should have already done, right? Before that, or actually when the case was actually going on in regards to the investigation of the late Albert Ojwang, we did have also another case in Homa Bay of another fisherman who was actually, as they said, he committed suicide with his pens. Right? There's been a lot of cases of police injustice, really, in the 254. Also, the other day or yesterday, we know what really happened. We had two people who were actually, the guy with the mask actually survived, so that's a good thing, but he was actually shot right in front of everybody. We do have Kalonzo Musyoka, who insists that June 25th will be a public holiday and least activities for the day. Talking to his official X account on the evening of Sunday, June 15, 2025, Kalonzo has called upon citizens to observe the day through various commemorative activities. Kalonzo urged Kenyans to carry a rose and a candle during the commemoration, explaining that participants would lay flowers along Parliament and light candles in memory of the fallen heroes. He emphasized the importance of observing the day and highlighted the sacrifices the youth made in their fight against economic injustice. Kalonzo Musyoka, speaking during his 40 years in politics, event on May 7, 2025, Kalonzo Musyoka, speaking during his 40 years in politics event, said that June 25th will be a public holiday. That's what he says, and a solemn day to honor our fallen Gen Z heroes. He says we shall lay flowers along Parliament Road, light candles, and remember them with the dignity they deserve. That's what he stated. And we do understand that June 25th was or is the date that has been set to actually remember what really happened last year, the finance bill and the triggers that really took place. But also it did have during the protest yesterday goons on motorbikes who are deployed in Nairobi CBD to disrupt the peaceful justice for Albert Ojwang. Can check out that video right away. But this shows you like the fact that we are going in as very, very peaceful. How are you doing? CJ, hope you're having a great time or a great day, whatever you are. Welcome right away on Let's Pop when we return. We are talking about the current event that has been happening in the 254 Nairobi, Kenya. Also about the lost cities and amazing heritage of Kenya, but I was sharing a conversation about the fact that Kalonzo Musyoka is declaring June 25th as a public holiday. And basically, on his X account, he's listing activities that should be done for the day. But also, we understand that it was the same day that was set out for the protest, and actually, also to remember our heroes last year and everything that happened. Also, we did have Nakuru residents who have voiced strong opposition to the proposed plan to allocate part of Afraha Stadium land for affordable houses. That's what's really happening. And I believe it's a time for us to actually put our feet on the ground, which is actually something that is going, because allegedly I'm hearing also like Bombers of Kenya is no longer going to be like a cultural part where people can go and actually try and revisit the heritage of Kenya and how everything used to be, because it's actually being sold to foreigners. On the ground, watch you alrighty, CJ, literally. Also, we did have protests basically kicking off in Kilifi yesterday. It's become a very powerful cause, literally. And this shows you that there's this effect that is maybe a subliminal effect that is happening in regards to their awakening. There might be triggers, because also Joshua Maponga talked about the fact that you don't plan for revolution. It just happens. You can't plan for it. There might be people who are actually prepared to actually talk about these things, awaken other people, but maybe at the same time, people not really understand what maybe someone is talking about. And if you're not in the same space, if you're not in the same alignment, but we do have, I know the likes of Dr. Kanaji Umburi, Joshua Maponga, Pia Lumumba, everybody knows him, he has actually been super loud about reawakening Africa in his own way. And we see that happening in different ways. We did have a protest kick off in Kilifi over the date of Albert Ojwang that took place yesterday. But also moving forward to what's really happening also, I don't know if you've seen this video, also a video of Hanifa, who basically wrestled a goon who tried stealing her phone. She actually wrestled a goon who tried to steal her phone. There's a video right away right there. If you can actually check it out. on your phones, computer, or in any other way. News and update that I talked about that the goons were actually deployed to actually disrupt the peaceful protest. We do have question in regards to who paid the guns. Kenyans actually demand answers for or after a violent alternative army attacked Albert Ojwang protesters in Nairobi at the CBD, and questions linger over their funding, coordination, and links to security forces because it has always been a peaceful protest, hashtag peaceful protest. So everybody who's actually a part of the protest, we know it's going to be a peaceful protest. We're not going to be violent, no actually vandalizing any property at the CBD. So we also saw guns actually being escorted by the police as they're coming in. So this means we do have an individual who actually sent these guns to disrupt the peaceful protest. We did have people who have actually paid this individual off to cause the peaceful protest. And it's amazing because all this has actually circulated all over. There is news and update in regards to what's really happened. I'm going to play and share this video so that the ones who are literally on YouTube can literally understand what we're talking about right away.
Whips and clubs have attacked protesters in the capital, Nairobi. They've been demonstrating against the recent death of a man in police custody. Albert Ojwang was a 31-year-old blogger who died just days after he'd been arrested. Police initially said he'd committed suicide, but an independent autopsy pointed to assault as the cause of death.
Police fired tear gas as they tried to restore order on the streets of Nairobi. Clashes have erupted in the Kenyan capital between protesters and police.
There were actually so many people. Yes, there were so many people at the CBD. Like, people turned out so badly. There were so many individuals at the CBD.
Swarms of men on motorbikes also joined in and attacked the demonstrators with whips and clubs.
These are the goons who were sent to actually cause a disruption during the protests. They were all in motorbikes and all covered up, and they were actually beating up the protesters, the peaceful protesters.
They're watching them terrorize people, stealing from people, stealing cameras from journalists. They're moving around in motorbikes, in whips, and they're masked.
Arrest and prosecute! Arrest and prosecute!
For days, Kenyans have been holding protests over the killing of Albert Ojwang earlier this month. He was a blogger and a teacher who was arrested over social media posts criticizing a senior police officer. He died days later in police custody.
People want to see justice done. People want to see that the cops who were responsible for the death are arrested and brought to book. That is what people are looking for.
Kenyan police officers have appeared in court in connection with Ojwang's death. The protests, meanwhile, look set to continue.
PW correspondent Felix Moringa was at that protest in Nairobi earlier today, and while there he witnessed what appeared to be two police officers approaching a civilian. You can see it in the footage here on the right-hand side, with one officer shooting him dead at close range. Horrible scenes there on the streets of Nairobi, witnessed by our correspondent Felix Moringa. Felix joins me now. Felix, tell us what happened.
So the police were lobbing tear gas at protesters, and protesters kept pelting stones. So when they got to a road junction at one of the streets within the Central Business District, the police were trying to push back the protesters, and they were successful at it. They were pushing back and the protesters kept pelting stones. So what happened is that a group of police officers in 3 police Land Cruisers got to that particular junction. They alighted from the vehicle, and that's when between where the police were and where the protesters were pelting stones, this trader was standing, hiding so that he could not be hit by the tear gas or also not be hit by the stones. And that's when two police officers approached this trader. The trader actually showed them the masks, the surgical mask that he was selling to the protesters. But one of the police officers shoved the trader with his gun, then the other one slapped him, and that's when he shot him at close range. And then after that, he walked away as if nothing had happened. They went into the Land Cruiser, and as people shouted that, "You have killed him, you have killed him," the police officers who were in the Land Cruiser lobbed tear gas at these protesters who were calling them out for the shooting that had just transpired.
You were not the only witness.
These are the police officers who are supposed to protect us. These are the police officers who are supposed to put our faith and trust and everything in them, because we understand that they're supposed to protect and safeguard, right? The same thing. But this is what really is happening right now. Police officers they're not hiding it no more. Like in your face. That happened like when people are watching. And as I said, he walked off like nothing happened. And from my perspective, I can see that these are literally directives that have been given. Honestly. This is an individual who's literally super peaceful, actually just minding his own business.
There were plenty of people there that saw what transpired. What are authorities saying about the incident?
So there was a group of journalists who are covering that at the same spot where this shooting took place. The police have released a statement saying that this particular police officer who took the shot has been arrested and will be arraigned in court. They've also denied that the innocent civilian.
There are some videos that are showing a super close glimpse of his facial structure. So I believe, because they always do the same thing, they take them to court, they act like they're actually going to arrest him or imprison him for whatever years. But after some time, you forget about the case, you forget about everything that's happening, and another distraction comes up again. That's what they really do. But if we're actually diligent enough and follow up this case, because this is not right. This should not be condoned anymore, like at all.
Died, but eyewitnesses, we were there. We saw it looked like this particular individual was shot dead. So the police account and the eyewitness account is not matching, because the police are denying that this particular protester, particular civilian, is not dead, but the eyewitnesses who are there and even the individuals who carried him have a different account of what transpired there on the ground.
It's truly horrific. In past cases of police brutality, officers have rarely been convicted. Are you seeing any signs of that possibly changing now?
It's too early to tell whether there'll be any change, because the Independent Policing Oversight Authority has said that it's investigating 60 deaths that occurred in June and July last year during the Gen Z protest, where young people in Kenya were protesting against the government-backed finance bill. So,
and also, before we continue with the conversation right away in regards to the Kenyan police shoot trader at protest yesterday here in Nairobi, 254 Glen. Ivor, how are you doing? Welcome to Let's Pop with Everton. Jaco Lando, how are you doing? We do have the Geneva-based Institute for Human Rights is calling for the immediate arrest of the Deputy Inspector Police Eliud Lagat, who is linked to the murder of blogger Albert Ojwang while he was in police custody. And that the Geneva-based Institute for Human Rights is calling for the immediate arrest of Deputy Inspector of Police Eliud Lagat. In a statement to the media, the President Davis Koros announced that the organization will advocate for a private prosecution of Langat and all those involved in the matter. And newspaper subscription, basically standard merchandise. You'll definitely get everything that's happening right there. He also stressed the urgency of Langat's arrest, stating that his freedom could jeopardize the ongoing investigation. This is what they say. I want to challenge Raila and Ruto to stop interfering with justice by donating 1 million Kenyan shillings and 2 million Kenyan shilling respectively. This is unacceptable. I'm so sorry. Raila seemed to have inherited the bad habit from Ruto of giving the family of Ojwang the money. This is not right, he said. Ojwang's death has sparked nationwide protests that entered their second day yesterday, with riots reported in Nairobi City. I believe this is a really good cause in regards to the fact that they're calling him out. They're calling the Deputy Inspector of Police, who actually stepped down recently after all this case was actually going on. But right now we do have the Geneva-based Institute for Human Rights that has actually called him out. And his name is Eliud Lagat, who is actually linked to the murder of the late blogger Albert Ojwang.
These police officers have not yet been convicted. There is no one who has been jailed for the atrocities, and the police brutality continues in the country. So it's too early to tell whether this will be a turning point within the police force and for the Kenyans who do not feel safe at the hands of police.
I don't think anybody feels safe in their hands, like at all. Nobody is feeling safe at all, because in regards to what they're doing, what they have been doing mercilessly, like, did you see that cop walking off like nothing happened? Nobody will feel safe around them, literally, at all. And that's the main agenda. You should definitely feel safe when you're around a police officer, right? But maybe your fear will literally rise up. It will be at like 2,000% because of everything we've been saying, everything we've been watching, and what they're actually doing each and every time, right? Also, in regards to the same case about the police officers, we do have the Homa Bay governor, Wanga, demands prosecution of all officers, including DIG Langat. Actually, that is true. The one I actually talked about before, who is linked to the police brutality cases. And basically condemns extra judicial killings, says enough is enough. And there's a whole statement in regards to that. And I believe it's time to actually scrape off. It's just that time, because these are not people who definitely will feel safe around at all. These are people, I can believe, like the police officers or the police sector, which actually in the budget, there's been a raise over 100 million. Right now, they're going to be an amount of 477 billion has actually been added to their budget from 377. And look what they're doing actually right now. It doesn't really add up right away. But welcome, family, again, the ones who are joining me right now on Let's Talk with Iriton. It's your girl, Iriton Longoria, always talking about redefining Africa as we redefine ourselves. We had a conversation about the current issues that are happening here in Nairobi 254, Kenya, and the fact that we did have a Kenyan police who did shoot a trader yesterday during the protests. As we continue, we do have an amazing conversation in regards to the fact that Africa will be redefined. I believe so, and I have so much faith in it. In the next 25 years, I believe Africa, Kenya, Uganda, name it, will be a different scene to behold.
Start by congratulating you all, assuming as I do that you participated in elections, some of you, and that you are elected, and also aware that some of you have been appointed to serve as ministers in the new administration. Congratulations. And also permit me to thank the Office of the Prime Minister for inviting me to share my thoughts with you on a subject that I think is very important, not only to the federal government of Ethiopia, but to the people of Ethiopia and by extension, the continent of Africa. My presentation has been summarized in writing and will be available for your reference later. And let me start by saying that the subject of Pan-Africanism is one that remains as important today.
And it shows you, like, right now we were having this conversation. It's something we're always talking about, like the system that we actually are in right now, we're actually governing right now, which is governing us right now, has been made to work against us. And we do have all these individuals in the government. They're not Pan-Africanists. They don't even have a shadow of it. And that's why everything that is happening right now is actually happening, because we don't have Pan-Africanists at all.
As it was, in my view, many years ago. Those of you who are familiar with the struggle for Pan-Africanism will remember its story, particularly through the activities of Africans in the diaspora. You'll particularly remember that prior to the much more famous meeting held in 1945 in Manchester in the United Kingdom, Africans in the diaspora, particularly in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica, were very particular about having connection with the continent of Africa. You'll remember that they had many meetings, and you'll be familiar with some of the names, such as Sylvester Williams from Trinidad and Tobago, such as Marcus Garvey, and his call for Africans to go back to the mother continent. And you will also remember African Americans such as W.B.E. Du Bois, who was very active in the process of liberating the African Americans from the clutches of slavery and discrimination, and who also played a very critical part in the struggle for decolonization, culminating in the 1900s. And
basically, PLA is talking about Pan-Africanists. We definitely know we do not have leaders like that in the 254 Nairobi, Kenya, because right away, right now, we do have the former KRA boss, Anthony Mwaura, who bought shares worth 548 million Kenyan shillings, and also the wife, 533 million Kenyan shillings, and their daughter, 528 million stake in HF Group. That's what's happening. This was the former KRA boss, Anthony Mwaura, who's actually bought 12.7% stake in HF Group, worth total 1.6 billion Kenyan shilling, making them the second largest shareholders after Britain.
45 meeting, which for the first time was attended by Africans who later played a critical role in the struggle for decolonization. Of course, Ethiopia does stand out to the extent that it was never successfully colonized. There was limited occupation, and you are familiar with that history. Therefore, it is not mine to educate you on your own history, but you are familiar with it. But it must concern us, particularly at this time. And I hope during this conversation I'll be able to demonstrate why, in order for us to understand the present, we must understand the past, which will also enable us to have a glimpse on what the future is. And one of the speeches which is seldom referred to is a speech that was delivered in the year 1906, in the month of April, by a South African called Pixley Kaisaka Seme. And it is instructive that Pixley Kaisaka Seme was the first president of the African National Congress when it was founded in 1912. When Pixley Kaisaka Seme delivered that speech as a student at the University of Columbia.
But first of all, the main conversation is how can we actually scrape off the leaders that are actually in these positions right now? Because nothing is actually happening in regards to change, development, everything that should actually be motivating us to actually make them be our next leaders for a few years. There's nothing motivating about this government. We have people who've been in this position for how many years right now? And that's why I believe there's so many youths who are actually do not have job opportunities because of nepotism. I'm telling you, you graduate with amazing, amazing scores, right? In regards to whatever you're starting in school. But there's someone who's actually been there, who's going to actually recommend a family member. It continues like a train of marks because it has been actually a momentum of the same thing happening in Africa. Let me say that. Why don't the youth have job opportunities? They've actually gone through the system that is not working for us, right? But nepotism, and actually the fact that also they're not following their own laws and the Constitution in regards to how many years you should actually be in the government. We have people who have surpassed the limit, and there's still leaders in different sections of the government or in the government. Like right now, what's happening in Uganda in regards to the 86-year-old lawmaker and second deputy prime minister, Moses Ali, who has been nominated to 86-year-old to run for re-election while in his car due to ill health. Don't you have like young people who actually can take this position? We do. It's not even a question. It's a fact. But also looking at the kind of president that this country has, it's always actually been led with fear and subjection. Because how is an 86-year-old actually running for a re-election? And the fact that he's actually doing it in his car due to ill health. Ali, a prominent figure in Ugandan politics, has held various ministerial positions throughout his 24-year tenure as a member of parliament, including Minister of Finance, Interior, Minister of Sports, and as the National Resistance Movement, the NRM, continues to register aspirants for the upcoming 2026 general elections. Ali's nomination underscores the enduring presence of aging politicians in Ugandan's political landscape. Like, honestly, guys, at 86-year-old, running for re-election in his car due to his ill health. Don't we have other young people who can actually take this position? Honestly, we do. Lots of them. You can actually check that video right away if you can on your own time in regards to what's happening. But also this shows you how Africa, or the system that is actually governing Africa, will never work for us until we actually rise up and decide to scrape up all these leaders. Because also in the fact that there's an awakening, I'm not sure they really understand what's really happening, because we have a generation that is super, super alert, a generation that understands that it's better, a generation that understands that this is not it. They understand that they don't come from poverty. They understand that they actually sleep, walk, tread on wealth. They understand it can be better. It can be magnificent. Yes, it can. But we do have gatekeepers. We have gatekeepers who are actually in between the golden light and the dark wooden door. Maybe I can say something like that, but it definitely makes sense. And that's why I feel the urge for change, the urge for better leaders, better government it's so intuitive. Basically, nobody can stop this. Nobody can stop reggae.
His title was The Regeneration of Africa. And what he was talking about at that time was an Africa that had borne the brand of slavery and was laboring under the pain of colonization. Pixley Kaisaka Seme reminded his audience on that day that when the European powers assembled in Berlin in 1884 through to 1885, they agreed to divide Africa into spheres of influence.
We do have a generation right now. I know maybe people can say Africa is, I don't know, a lot of people are ignorant, but I can say it's 50-50. We have a generation that they know who they are. They understand it can be better. They understand to live in the understanding that I know who I am, I know my identity, I know where I'm going, and it will be better. Yes, the ones who are ignorant, okay, maybe they will be woken up by force, whether they like it or not. But I'm going to focus on basically the fact that it's our time to arise. It's our time to put our feet down. It's our time to actually set the record straight and take everything that has been eroded and stolen away from us
for purposes of exploitation, so that the Germans had their share. If you remember, the Germans were present in what we now call Namibia. They were present in what we now call Benin, but was then known as Dahomey. They were present in what is now a part of Ghana, which was then the Togoland, the Volta area. The Belgians were present in Rwanda and Burundi, and they were also present in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Italians, to the extent that they could, tried to occupy Ethiopia and Eritrea, and were present in a portion of Somalia. The British were present, of course, in Uganda, in Kenya, in Nyasaland, in Rhodesia, and in Nigeria, and in many other places. The French, of course, were also present. And all these powers, even the Spaniards, were present in Equatorial Guinea, as were the Portuguese. And the whole idea was to use the resources, both natural and human, of the African continent, So that the partition of Africa was one that was designed to benefit the European powers.
And that's why they came here, literally, like live and direct. And the fact that we understand is the African Renaissance right now, right in this time and moment, because what's actually giving me so much hope is this generation. Why not? Also, we do have the one and only Dr. Arikana Chihombori, who basically weighs in on Ramaphosa and Trump's meeting, if you basically missed that last month.
President Cyril Ramaphosa saying, of course, that the recent trip to Washington was a success, and the U.S. president using the meeting to amplify discredited claims of a white genocide in South Africa, while Ramaphosa was criticized by some for not forcefully refuting Trump's allegations. His composed demeanor and diplomatic poise has been seen by some as a good move, particularly for what could have taken place behind closed doors. Let's now speak to Dr. Arikana Chihombori, who is a Pan-Africanist as well as a former African Union ambassador to the US. Doctor, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. It's been described by some, including President Ramaphosa, as a successful meeting, while others say it was in fact cringeworthy. How would you describe the encounter in the Oval Office?
Well, I think it was a step in the right direction for President Trump to invite President Ramaphosa to come to the White House to discuss issues to do with trade, first and foremost. The other issues that were discussed pertaining to the genocide, I'm hoping that they were secondary to the primary reason why he went to Washington with his team. On a separate note, I view this...
I also felt like President Ramaphosa Club actually carried a team, a team people who literally are not intimidated, who will step in with facts. Like whatever video Trump will have actually showcased, they'll actually step in with the best of the best clarification or statements, because I didn't feel that during that moment in that office. Nobody came in and stepped up and said, let me explain, or not even let me explain. This is actually the real fact of what's really happening in South Africa. And I've never seen this happening because I live in South Africa, right? But he didn't have a power force in regards to his team. He didn't have a team of individuals who are ready to actually jump in when necessary.
This trip and the treatment that President Ramaphosa received from the US government as a perfect example and a reminder to the African leaders that this is a new day, that this is a new game, that they need to re-strategize the manner in which diplomacy used to be handled. That game is over. This is a new game and it needs new strategy. The manner in which they were treated is a reminder to the African leaders that before you go to meet with President Trump
or anybody, be prepared, because they'll always pull up something which will always make you look bad, and also something which actually does not exist.
With other Western leaders, you better make sure that you have a team that is prepared.
As I said earlier,
team that knows their game, from the political to the social to the economic to trade. I just feel that the team that was with President Ramaphosa was not prepared for what they received in Washington. They could have done better. There were white people in the team who could have refuted what the information that President Trump had
100%
been given. When they showed the photographs of all those crosses along the road, who creates a gravesite along a highway?
Question.
With these crosses so close to each other. By virtue of looking at it, that was not a gravesite. And
you see, it was not. It was not a gravesite.
Yet, the people who were traveling with President Trump, one opportunity after another, they failed to refute the false information. They failed to protect the president. They failed to clarify the issues of genocide to the American viewers who saw lies being told, misinformation being shared. The team that traveled with President Ramaphosa did not perform well. And if they should have another opportunity to meet with President Trump, we expect
you
them
have to understand, people who actually want to devour your land, your resources, minerals, every part of what actually defines your heritage, your identity, they will never rest. They will never rest at all until they take over. So you cannot actually see and sing kumbaya because you basically understand, you feel like everything is no. They're always going to use the most tactful ways, more new tactful ways, fresh tactful ways to actually capture. They're going to use people who actually look like you to fit in. They're going to talk like you. They're going to wear like you. They will fit in perfectly. But if you're a lad and you're somebody who can actually read people, signs, understand alignment, understand how the real world works, or you have that understanding or that knowledge, you'll definitely be able to actually differentiate from white, black, and gray.
To do better, we expect them to be more prepared, and let this be an example, and also something that the other African leaders can look to and say, should we have an opportunity to meet with President Trump, they need to be better prepared. They need to assemble their best negotiators, because for President Trump, it's about negotiations. May the best man win.
I want to get to...
That's what it is for them. May the best man win. It's not about collaboration. It's not about partnership. It's not about equality. No. It's about power.
Circle back to what you've just said about being better prepared, and at the same time, a message to African leaders in just a moment. But you speak about some of the members in the delegation. They spoke a lot about crime. At the same time, they're calling on the US to expand its investment in South Africa. Does speaking about crime and even the fact that how violent of a society they say we are, does this not deter potential investment into the country?
Absolutely. If you talk about crime, why did they go there to highlight the issues of crime in South Africa? If that was the case, why didn't the team also highlight the issues of crime in the United States of America? Why was that not also discussed? Why is it that we can only highlight crime in Africa and not the crime in the United States of America? There's a lot of crime in the United States, but that was not the reason for the visit. The agenda should have been very clear. There was some digression here where issues that were not part of the agenda were discussed. President Ramaphosa came to the United States to discuss trade and also to justify and refute the false information about genocide in South Africa.
And
we should have
pardon me, Doctor. When you look at what you say, a new day that requires new strategies, go there well prepared and be able to, state your case. How then do, South Africa, in fact, African leaders begin to do this? And I ask because there is a view that at times they go, to countries like the US with a begging bowl and simply not firm enough.
That is so true with the begging bowl. And also there's this narrative, mostly the way Africa has been painted all over the world as a nation that really needs help. Actually, that's what you actually have an understanding about when you're actually growing up. It's something you've been seeing all over the media, something you've been hearing and listening to. So it actually creates this complex about how you see yourself and how you view yourself and how the world views you. But also, if we do have an understanding of actually who we are, and that is actually showcased all over the media, and that's how you're raised. Your family is actually raising you with this factual affirmation and factual facts about your identity, about where you come from. If you listen to something over and over and over, you believe it, right? And that's why Africa, the way it has been painted black, is a country that needs help or a nation that needs a lot of help. It's basically impoverished. People believe it. You believe it. So whatever you listen to, whatever you watch becomes your reality because your subconscious mind is actually in tune with everything that you see, everything that you listen. It becomes a part of your thought process. So the fact that we have the likes of Dr. Arikana Chihombori, the fact that we have the likes of P.L. Lumumba, Joshua Maponga, always talking about the real facts of Africa, always reminding you of your identity, always calling things out if they're right or wrong, and actually reminding you of who you are as an African, the power that you carry, the heritage that you come from, and the fact that you walk with confidence, understanding regardless. Yes, it's rainbows and pixels because I come from the wealthiest nation of all time. Why should I walk in fear, right? If you understand also your alignment to the creator, you walk with confidence. And basically, I believe you should definitely have the best life of your day or of your life because you should, because you also understand there's a warrior in you when it's time for actually to be a part of anything that needs the warrior or the giant, or call it whatever you want to call it, to come out. It'll definitely come out.
Not putting their best foot forward.
What the African needs to realize is that President Trump is about trade. They need to see this as an opportunity. President Trump is saying no more divide and conquer, no more regime change. President Trump is bringing in and ushering in a new era that says, let's trade as equal partners.
But also you have to understand with them, they always tell this thing about equality. I might actually try and not agree with Dr. Arikana in regards to that. They will sell the equality agenda, but it's not about equality. It's not about trade. They will definitely come and take over. They will come, not even they'll do that. There's always about that phrase about equality, mostly in the United States of America, in regards to the African Americans and the white people. Equality, but they don't believe in that. They believe they want to be on top of you. They want to lead you and govern you and overpower you. There's nothing about equality. There's nothing about trade or what are you saying, divide and conquer. Of course, that's what they're doing, divide and conquer. That has always been the same goal since divide and conquer. Even right now, they will use super new tactics. They will use people who look like you, who speak like you, who will sing kumbaya like you, who will fit in your culture, but also they're actually an instrument to come and divide and conquer, take, erode, steal, and actually overpower you.
If African leaders fail to come to the table, understanding that we have a leader who wants to deal, and he will negotiate the best deal that he can for his people, and that you need to come to the table with your best and brightest negotiators, and also ready to come up with the best deal that you can for your people. This environment has never existed in Africa since colonization. So if we miss the opportunity.
And also remember during the Berlin Conference in 1884, during that Berlin Conference, there was no African leader, chief, nobody. Like, there are people who are actually making decisions about Africa with no African individual in that meeting. Does it make sense? No.
To negotiate for the minerals, the wealth of the countries, for the...
I don't think we should definitely negotiate that. We should take over, as Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. If it's collaboration on our own terms and conditions, we are not bending down at all, because that's what African leaders have been doing for years, bending down. We are not negotiating about our minerals, about our resources, about nada. We are taking over. I think that has been happening for quite a long time. It's time for us to take it all because it rightfully belongs to us. It's about collaboration. Maybe I can think about it, but we have all the rights, like 100%, in regards to it's going to work according to our terms and conditions. But I'm winding up with that family here on Let's Swap with Iriton. Thank you so much for everybody who's been joining me on TikTok, Playboy, Alex, Jacalando, you've been with me the whole time. Customer caretaker, you've been with me the whole time. I see CJ Lomas, a lot of people joining me this beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much. Remember, like, it's our time to take over, to basically step up into our full power, because it's an awakening. It's a revolution, baby. Also, remember, you can download our app on the Google Play Store. Stream on www.blackhotfireradionetwork.com for amazing healthy supplements, Amaro clothing with a Black Hot Fire Radio logo on it. Get yourself a healthy lifestyle. If you want to lose weight, get yourself some beetroot juice. If you want some strength and actually a good memory to remember things, get yourself some ashwagandha multivitamin. But before I wind up, I will definitely share a video of some of the supplements we do have to give you an understanding of what you should definitely be expecting as you definitely place your order.
Unlock your full potential with Brain and Focus, a powerful supplement designed to boost mental clarity, enhance memory, and sharpen concentration. Made from a blend of scientifically proven ingredients like ginkgo biloba, omega-3, and essential vitamins, Brain and Focus is crafted to fuel your mind. Our process ensures maximum potency and effectiveness, delivering the perfect balance of brain-boosting nutrients. Take just one capsule daily, as prescribed by your healthcare provider, and feel the difference. Whether it's powering through your workday or staying sharp in life's challenges, Brain and Focus keeps you at the top of your game. Stay sharp, stay focused, and stay ahead with Brain and Focus. Brain and Focus, fuel your mind, achieve more. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
At a super affordable price. You can also get different supplements in regards to the categories that you want, with vitamins, beverages. We do have the likes of ashwagandha, manuka honey coffee for $59.90. Also, we do have the ashwagandha, Brain Focus, and beetroot. If you want to lose weight, blend the beetroot and get some juice. And I'm telling you, over a week or two, you'll see some difference. Zero Mosquito, how you doing? I'm literally winding up right away here on Let's Swap with Iriton. Have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. I'm sending you so much love and light. But remember, all day, every day, as you wake up, as you go to sleep, you are the change you need to see in the world. Kisses, and remember to basically follow us on all the social media platforms. Download our app on the Google Play Store. And always invite more people to listen in to amazing conversation only on the media of the 21st century, the Black Hot Fire Radio Network.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Here is Angela Robinson, intermittent brother, all the way in Switzerland. And I'm reaching out to all of my brothers and sisters on the African continent. You're tuning into Black Hot Fire Radio.
You're now listening to the best music.
Money, and anataka shana na mimi.